folks, and welcome to Telling Tinder Tales, the show where people get to share their weird and wonderful dating stories with me, Chris O'Neill.
And me, Thomasin Lockwood. So our regular listeners will know that this is where we introduce our guests, but this week we don't have any guests as we're getting ready to up sticks and relocate to Scotland for the gloriously funny and madcap adventure that is the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
We have listeners all over the world. Some may not know what the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is.
It is, and I quote, the greatest celebration of arts and culture on the planet. Woohoo! So with over 3,000 shows in 265 venues, for people who love live performance, it is a joy to behold. There's nowhere else like it on the planet.
And that's where Telling Tinder Tales, the live show, and then a few years later, this podcast emerged. Thomasin and I met there and started hosting the live show together, and I met our producer, Lucy, and so this audio endeavour got underway.
So Telling Tinder Tales, the live show, will be at Murphy's, a good Irish name, on the High Street every evening at 8:45 except Mondays.
We don't record the live shows because, as we tell our audience, what happens in the room stays in the room. But we will be bringing you dating stories from around the festival. Now, Thomasin, do you remember the first time ever hosting the live show?
I do, and it was a very alien concept to me because obviously I've been doing, stand up, and you were like, do not do stand up, do not tell jokes, just tell a story. And that was very, very hard, but I soon got into the spirit of things. There was this great story there, actually. This girl got up and told a story about she was quite young, she was out at a music festival. She'd just broken up with a boyfriend, but at this music festival, she'd met a guy there and they were really connecting on a soul level. She ended up sort of telling him a bit about the breakup and he was telling her a bit about his life. I have these two older brothers who are so great. I never feel like I can live up to them. She's like, I feel the same and da da da. So they're just really connected. And that is why later that night in her tent, they ended up doing the dirty. And at one point he said to her, "Hurt me." Now, this girl who, quite naive, had only ever had one boyfriend, hadn't really heard that in that context before. So she said to him, "Your mother doesn't love you as your two brothers." And he went, "Oh, I meant scratch my back." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I could do that." And he was like, "No, it's fine. So maybe not as much for soul connection as she thought, but I remember that story. And I think that was the first story where I was really like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I've heard so many stories. I think I probably put that one from my mind. No, I don't remember it, but I can just imagine it. It illustrates, I suppose, the way communications in relationships can just go completely wrong. I mean, that often comes up in the show, really, surprises and failures of communication. But it is, we're always saying to people, don't make the story funny. People say all the time, I don't have any funny stories. Don't want funny. Want interesting. Once you get interesting stories, the funny falls out the bottom. And it always does. It's incredible, the lists of stories that we've heard. And even the strangest stories, people laugh hysterically. Quite strange.
Yeah, or hide their faces out of cringe. Either way, it's a good night out.
No, the hiding your faces is when the camera gets you at the Coldplay concert. That's a different thing. We had the wisdom to know, I will claim I had the wisdom to know, is nobody is allowed to record anything at our live shows. You can take a picture of what person on stage, but you can't record what they're saying. Even their friends, particularly their so-called friends, are not allowed to record. We don't record. You'll never see a clip from the live show.
Oh yeah, so even if you show up in person, it's still anonymous. It's more AA meeting than Coldplay concert in that respect.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
So, Chris, you've been doing this a long time. Do you have any stories in particular? Any that stick out?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah, thanks for that, Thomasin. Yeah. But anyway,
I didn't specify,
I know, an unspecified long period of time. Anyway, yeah, there's one story that I always find fascinating. A young woman told a story when she was about 23, and she was telling a story about when she was about 20. It's all good. She came up on stage and she said that her parents had always told her to be careful and to do her research. So As it turned out, she and her boyfriend, or partner at the time, had decided that the following weekend they were going to be orally intimate, shall we say. Orally intimate. And it wasn't kissing, right? Okay? So that was fine. She decided to go online and do research on some reputable websites about what was involved, how to do things properly, how to be careful, etc., etc. And that was all good. The weekend happened, everything went well, they had a very nice time. It was good. So about 10 days later, her father and herself were sitting watching some random TV programme, and he said to her, "Are you aware of Google Incognito?"
Oh, God.
And she didn't know what he was talking about. She said, "Yes." She said, "Well, your mother and I share the cloud with you." So at that moment she realised that all the searches she had done had been visible to her parents.
Oh, God.
So that was the story at that point. The way it works on the shows, we go back on stage, as you know, the co-hosts go back on, they chat to the person, they ask some questions. So one of the questions that was asked was, "So did your father ever pass any further comment, or did he ever say anything else?" And she said, "No, not really, but he's here."
Oh!
And,
Why?
because they had come out as a family to the gig, and that was fine. So he then came on stage.
Oh, my God.
And he went on and he said, "Well, you have to be realistic. I'm a father of 4, a son and 3 daughters. You have to be realistic. They're going to be doing things." And I was trying to encourage them to be open and honest and frank and be careful. Above all, be careful. And that's all there is to it. So you have to come to terms that if you have kids, that's the way it's going to be. And there was a big round of applause and a big hug, and they walked off together. And that's a very typical story from Telling Tinder Tales.
And this is what I love so much about the show, and then also the podcast, is that, yes, it's, telling interesting, funny stories, having a good time, but there's always such a sense of optimism to it.
Yeah, I think when people hear the title, their default setting is, it's all about disasters. Actually,
and cynical and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and people, turning up and finding out that the person they're meeting has a history of homicide or something, and that's almost never happens. And if it does, they live to tell the tale, so it's not too bad. That's the story. That's the reality of Telling Tinder Tales.
Great. So, Chris, who have we got lined up to interview in Edinburgh about their romantic escapades?
Well, the plan is that we're going to interview some people, but Edinburgh is chaos and comedians are more chaotic than most. So let's say at the moment we're hoping and planning to interview Pauline Eyre, who's got a show called Anyone for Tennis, Kevin O'Brien, who has a show I've seen called ABC of One-Liners. He really is an excellent one-line comedian. Mark Maloney, who I have never heard of or encountered, but I'm sure he's funny, and he's Bald 2-in-1 is a strange title, but whatever. And then there's a person called Mari Volar, who's doing 100%, I think it's continental, or it may be something else, but I'm not going to say the other word.
Very good. I am very excited to meet all of them. So next week we'll be taking a break from recording while we get our shit and wits together and mosey on up to Scotland. But please do join us the week after for some extra specials from around the Fringe. And if you're there, come say hi. Come find us at Murphy's. Come say hello. The show's at 8:45. We're there every day except Mondays. If you have a tale to tell, get in touch at tellingtindertales@gmail.com. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok for some dating snippets from the streets. I'm looking forward to that. If you're missing us while we're on a break, please listen back to some of your favourite episodes. And if we make you smile, give us a follow and a 5-star and I'll send you a haggis. And if you give us a 1-star, I'll give you a Glasgow kiss. I don't think I can pull that off, can I, Chris? I said it too happy, eh? Although maybe that will help. So all that's left to do is to say goodbye. Cheerio. See you in Scotland. Cheerio, indeed. Telling Tinder Tales is hosted and produced by me,
Chris O'Neill and Thomasin Lockwood. Produced and edited by Lucy Regan, with music by Quincas Moreira. It's a Jester's Comedy Dublin production and is no way affiliated with or endorsed by Tinder. If you have a story to tell, please get in touch. Details are in the show notes. And if you like us, instead of swiping right, follow us on Instagram and or TikTok at Telling Tinder Tales.